Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of a band that was literally just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And of course, the band we are going to talk about is the Dave Matthews Band. So every episode, I have a fan of the Dave Matthews Band to come on the show and talk about their journey. How did they meet this band and why in the world are they still listening to it after all these years? Why in the world are they traveling all over the world? And what keeps them coming back for more? So every episode, every story is very different. And I love that because everyone's journey is completely different. And this is, I want to say that we have at least 30,000 different stories of how this band has changed lives. And so I'm on a mission to try to get 30,000. I have 160. So I have a long ways to go. So I'm excited that I have another person coming to tell us their journey. So today I have another guest. So if you will just say who you are, where in the world do you live, and then tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hello. All right, I'm sure some of you recognize me. I'm Stephanie, aka TwoSteph on Instagram. I have been
the best handle. Your name was for it. Your name was ready.
It was my husband. I cannot take credit, but I actually made it to not annoy all of my family and friends, and then it spun wildly out of control. But
it's perfect.
Oh God. I have lived in Indiana my whole life. I have been to Ruoff, aka Deer Creek, lots and lots of times for other shows. But I'm a veterinarian. I have a dog who's very high maintenance, and I am married to Zach.
Yeah, what kind of dog do you have?
He's a boxer pit mix. Probably.
Oh yeah,
got him from the shelter. Yeah,
yes.
Kept his name Ben. So.
I love it. I'm totally a dog person too. So we have lots of dogs on the show, believe it or not. People just, so if he just, or she happens to just walk out, say, come on over here. Everybody wants to see your dog for sure.
He was boarded this weekend and he's so tuckered out from, I think he just ran around constantly. Yeah. And so he's been sleeping for the last 13 hours.
So let's talk about why he had to be boarded. It seems like maybe you were gone. Did you go somewhere over the weekend? Oh, for those of you listening, definitely check this out on YouTube. That way you can see we're gonna show off some swag today. So you got to be sure to check out this YouTube. So tell us who you went to go see this weekend. Who in the world?
I don't know. Some band that a lot of people follow.
I've never actually heard of them.
No, this weekend was utterly insane with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I honestly, so prior to all of us voting, every single day for what felt like a month and a half, I did not, frankly, care if they got in because people were so heartbroken the first time that they didn't get in. And so it's not going to change the fact that they're, so well loved by literally everyone in this community. But we were losing and I'm just like, okay, well, this sucks, but we're probably not going to win the fan vote because people were so discouraged last time. And then for whatever reason, people made a rally and we
made it happen
again for the fan vote. And then, and then we celebrated the best band in all the land this weekend, the Dave Matthews Band.
I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was a little or maybe a lot aware of our presence and our dominating personalities. Like they were, can you
It
imagine
was a
the
lot.
letdown if they had not gotten in? And even Dave made this reference in his speech, that he gave when they were inducted. Like it kind of would have been interesting to not make it again, but have won the fan vote. Just as like, if we're gonna
Yeah.
break history, let's break it, and make it like really obvious that like we're getting snubbed. We're getting snubbed. But that did not happen because they knew
No.
that we would send 1,000
Yeah.
emails, 1,000,000.
Yes. And honestly, I talked about like going anywhere and like picketing with a sign, like
Hell yeah.
give advance.
No. Yes. I would have been there. That would have been actually my
But
first
regardless.
protest, and I would have signed up gladly.
Yeah.
I would have been like, how big can I make the sign? I will go.
Yeah,
It would have
this
been for a
weekend
worthy
was-
cause.
Yes, exactly. This weekend was utterly mind blowing. Like I knew it was going to be a big production, obviously, because Disney took it
Yeah,
over
of
and it was
course.
a rock hall. But the amount of celebrities and epic musicians and just it was overwhelming to see all of those people there. And then
True.
I went obviously to see them, but our band got in, and so we had to see that. But I was a little overwhelmed at the amount prior to them. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was
It was a
absolutely
lot.
crazy.
It was a lot. It was
So,
mind blowing every time. I would just like, oh my
it was.
God, and then people that we didn't even know that were going to be there would come out, and you're like, well, wait a second, what? They just kept coming
Yeah.
out. It was
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah, it
I'm
was.
so
And then
glad
I
that
don't
we
know
got to
why I
go.
was. Yeah, I was. I don't know why I was so nervous for them to come out. I don't know. I don't know. It's
I
because
feel
I
that
care
though.
so
I
much
do.
about them.
No, I
I
do.
was
I feel
nervous,
that.
but they
I feel that.
did a very, very, very good job. I don't, like I said, I was just so nervous, but luckily Dave, even though I didn't read one word from the teleprompter, I think thanked everyone very well. I liked their performance. I have watched that Ants video more times than I want to admit about us singing for them.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, that's kind
mm-hmm.
of a ballsy move
You know
for
what
him
though?
to just not sing the words.
I thought it was perfect. It was like he was throwing
It
it
was.
back at us,
It was.
like he does at a regular show. And so, I thought it was perfect. I agree with everything that you said. It was interesting even thinking about going, like because I had never been to anything of this magnitude before. And so I didn't even know what to expect. And so I think I would have been surprised with anything and of course happy with anything, but it was a lot. It was so timed and televised and people moving all the time. And the way I found it so interesting to watch them break the set down and build it back up. And it was just incredible to watch. But then also, yeah, you've got all the movie stars and the famous people and these amazing rock stars. And then also you have the Dave Matthews Band. So it was just like a lot of feelings, all good feelings, but like a lot. It was an incredible night.
Yeah. Cher was actually coincidentally my first concert ever. And Jimmy
Really?
Buffett was my husband's first concert ever. Yeah.
Wow.
And so it was just kind of like full circle. It was weird.
It was meant to be. I mean, you were meant to be in this world. And what a class. 2024 is an amazing class. I mean, every class is amazing. Of course, this one stands out because our favorite band got inducted as well. But I mean, I enjoyed so much of this. Some of it, I didn't necessarily know a lot about just because of my age.
Yeah.
But there was at least one song that I knew from every band. And so that kind of made me think about just how big of a presence that these people have for me not to be really aware of them, but also be aware of their music because it had been, strung through years and years of, advertising or whatever. It was just such a big part of, even though I wasn't necessarily into their music when they were singing it. So it was just amazing. And, telling like my dad and stuff that I was going to be there for Foreigner and Peter Frampton, it made my parents kind of go, wait a second, that's my music. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It is.
Yes. Yep.
But then
Sure,
we
no,
have the Dave Matthews Band. Yeah. Yeah. And it was
yeah,
interesting because Dave released a video. I mean, I can't see every video, but the video that I saw, he was walking through the woods. I don't know if this came out yesterday, today, something like that. And he kind of went back and talked about how hard it is to thank everybody. And he went back and thanked Corn Capshaw and explained the history of that,
yeah,
which I thought was super, super cool. And then he said something along the effects of, we feel, I, I can't remember the exact words he used, but it was like they felt like they were not up to par or up to standards to be there because they were
yeah.
so much substantially younger and than everyone else. And those were his music icons that were getting put in, and he was right next to them. And so what a humbling moment I believe that was for him. But how
Yeah.
amazing that that he is that humble, that he is that grounded, because there are probably a million musicians that would have stood in his place and not have been as humble, more like
Oh yeah, for
different.
sure.
And he's just, you can see that side of him coming through. And it's beautiful to get to continue to see how of a humble person he seems to be. I don't know Dave personally,
Maybe,
unfortunately.
maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But I always feel like when he talks about himself, like you just said, he seems very humble, and I feel like to a degree, like unfortunately a lot of people do, he has imposter syndrome, even though
Yeah,
they're one of the most successful bands of all time, is
yeah,
by statistics, just second to what U2 and touring.
yeah,
But yeah, he always seems very humbled every single
yeah.
time he talks.
It's amazing. I think that's such a
Yeah.
great thing. And, kind of what you want to see, even if you don't know that's what you want to see. It's
Mhm.
in everything, though. It's great to see people when they're being successful to stay humble. It's a great quality. It keeps us grounded and keeps our hearts in the right place and our minds in the right place. So
Yeah.
enough
So
about
true.
that, even though we could go on for literally like the whole show
For
about the Rock and
literally
Roll Hall of
hours.
Fame. I really could have so much to say.
Yeah.
Um, but let's talk about your history. So
Unintended.
take me back. Yes, exactly. Sometimes it just comes out of my mouth and I'm like, well, there's a song. And is my brain wired differently now? Like where I just speak lyrics, or am I just catching it when I do? I don't know which one it is. But like, take us back
Yeah.
to the first time you remember ever hearing of this band.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Rich from the Eddie Casino Band out in Las Vegas. We're really excited to get this journey going, celebrating our music, our original music, on all platforms. We just released our first single over Labor Day weekend called Eddie Casino. If you're looking for new music, look out for our next single coming out to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Music. These guys in the band are really excited to get started playing music for you all. If you like Tom Petty, Zach Brown, Jason Mraz, Dave Matthews Band, Rob Thomas, Jimmy Buffett, Pink Floyd, Stapleton, Bare Naked Ladies, Goose, Billy Strings, Sting and the Police, a ton of influences that we bring to the table. Hope you enjoy our music and look forward to seeing you soon live on stage.
So I think a lot of people, I'm almost 40. And so a lot of people my age probably can relate. It was later in middle school, early high school when they first became a lot more well known. And so I'm a swimmer. And so the guys team would always put on Dave, like just every single morning practice, we would have some sort of Dave Matthews Band playing. And so naturally I bought CDs. I burned mixes of their songs. I have a CD that just says like Crash and it's decorated everywhere that I literally listened to until probably about 10 years ago till I got a new car. Uh, but it ended up being they're very, very popular. I listened to them, but I never went to a show.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I was very busy with sports and stuff. And then I went to college. I became way too involved in studying, went to vet school, had no money. And then the pandemic happened where we couldn't leave our house. And so I was not in a good place. I mean, I was scared. My brother-in-law, he was a resident and he was on the COVID floor and he was seeing just a lot of horrible things, telling us to stay safe. And we bought Sirius XM, and just for nostalgia, like I still listen to them for years, but we just put on DMB Sirius XM, and the amount of material that I had no idea even existed. Like I would listen to the songs that everyone knows.
Right.
But we put that on and sat on our porch for, I would say, the 2 months of spring where no one really left much. Yeah. And then we watched countless hours of YouTube videos, and I get like emotional talking about it.
This is good.
We listened to it for days upon days, probably weeks. And I remember sitting on my porch and I was like, when this shit's done, we're going to every single show we can. So here we are.
Here we are.
So sadly, my first show was 2021. I really, really, really wish I would have made some sort of effort to see the original band members, but it just unfortunately didn't happen. Other parts of life did. And then in August of 21, I think is when did they start up? It was 21, right?
It was 21. It was July 23rd, 2021. Boy, look at that date.
Yeah.
Bam!
Yeah, there you go.
I just looked at the poster behind me.
It was Northerly Island 21. That was my first show. We went to 5 that year, and then it all snowballed.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Okay, hold on. I have so many questions to ask about a lot of things that you've already said. So you kind of basically find this band, or at least understand that there's volumes upon volumes of music from this band during COVID. And so y'all kind of just, because you had time, just kind of dug into it out of like, well, why the hell not? What was it that kept you watching like the next video and the next video instead of just being like, okay, well, let's look at something else?
So we put on Shotgun at one point, and it was 2012 Alpine Shotgun, and I just sat on my couch and sobbed, and I never, ever, ever had that happen with a band before. Like, I love bands. I have been obsessed with Disturbed for like my whole teenage year, or all the teenage years. I loved Keith Urban. I listened to Dave, but lots of other music. I was country for a while. And then it just, I don't know if it was just because it was a scary emotional time as it was, but it felt comforting, and it was so emotional, and we just kept going on.
Wow. Yeah. So we get through COVID, and like you said, they start the summer of 2021. So you had already determined like, hey, as soon as this stuff gets over and they start, we're going to go see them. So like, how did you start to plan that, since you'd never been to a show before? Like how did that go? Because, for a first timer, obviously you're not into things like you don't have a lot of knowledge of like because there is kind of a system to it. So like, how did y'all approach the planning, and like, which place do you go to first? Like, do you go to Deer Creek because it's close? Like, walk us through how you decided on which one was going to be your first show.
So it was actually our anniversary. It was the second night Northerly Island. I worked on Friday. Then we drove up Saturday. Which I was not a fan of Northerly Island, I have to say, but it was our anniversary.
Where is that? I know that's a dumb question, but I don't know where Northerly Island is.
Chicago. It's like on an old, from what I understand, airstrip, and so the lawn is just, I mean, it is flat, and the amount of drunk people, like I got beer spilled on me so many times that night, but I got my favorite poster. It's the one with the the bean, and there's a hot dog. I think it was a methane.
Oh
We walked
yeah.
up. We walked up like an hour after doors, and just there was a huge stack of them. So I don't know if people were just less crazy for that poster. I'm not sure, but I was like, oh, this is awesome. So we got merch, had a great time because he played. We were spoiled. He played 3.5 hours.
Wow.
Because the night before they had, I think, a thunderstorm. So
Okay.
yeah, we got spoiled because the band went on for forever that night. Then after that, Deer Creek is about 2 hours, hour and a half for 2 hours from us. So then we decided to do that. We did Riverbend. So all drivable shows that year.
Yeah.
And they were more last minute plans. Then 2022 is when it all went downhill.
So you go to your very first show, and of course you've seen videos, so you kind of knew like what the dynamics on stage were, you know, that Dave danced and like everybody's little personalities. So you were aware of that, but like how different was it actually being there versus watching on YouTube?
What's up, everybody? This is David with the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. We're a nationally touring tribute to DMB, playing shows all over the country and beyond. Our goal is to bring you back to the classic sound that you fell in love with in the 90s and the 2000s, featuring a violin, saxophone, and maybe some keyboards sprinkled in as well. You can find out information about all of our tours and shows by visiting thedmtb.com. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram and other socials by searching the Dave Matthews Tribute Band or the DMTB. Hope to see you on the road and enjoy the Space Between podcast.
Vastly different. It was, so we were kind of front lawn area, and I don't recall ever being in a crowd that they were wild, I will say. And that they were wild.
In what ways? Like wild. What does that mean?
They were pushing on the lawn. Like they were they were pushing up to try and get closer, but I'd never experienced such enthusiasm, if you will. And I'm not crazy about Samurai Cop Live, but for whatever reason, that was one of the songs that I first really fell in love with the new material, and he played it, and again, I just cried. And so it's just that the dynamic of the crowd is like none other.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I
the
do.
community they love Dave.
They love it, yeah. But so you said the crowd at Northerly Island? Northerly Island?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Northern
the difference
Island,
from them
Chicago.
to, Deer Creek audience, was there some differences in that, or was it the same? Like, did you kind of get the same vibe or completely different?
It was a very different. I feel like it was a very different crowd, and I don't know if it was just a one-off, but it felt very college-like crowd in Chicago. But then Deer Creek, I'm so used to that lawn. We ended up going with good friends and my sister-in-law, and their significant others, and so we were surrounded by family and friends at that point, because
awesome.
I literally had never met anyone in the community, and which is crazy to think back to.
Yeah, yes,
But
that's
I knew no
exactly.
Yeah, I knew no one. I went with my friends and family, and we danced on the lawn, had the best freaking time. And then I think Riverbend was after that. We decided to purchase tickets to that, and then they had a fall tour, and we went to Van Andel, which is that Ann Arbor? No, not Ann Arbor. Grand Rapids? Is that Grand
Michigan?
Rapids?
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
I
Awesome.
think it's in Michigan somewhere. And so then I was addicted to the feeling.
Yeah.
And then we started to meet some people. And then
How does that happen?
I think
how did you start to meet people? Like, how does it switch from I'm going with my family to I'm going with my family, but like Dave family.
Sure. I blame Instagram on all of that. It
It's
was,
Instagram's fault.
I posted, gosh, I can't even remember what my first post was about, but I had started following people on my personal one, which was much, much more boring. And I knew just based on my personality that I was going to make it a project.
Yeah.
And I was just
Yeah.
going to post way too much and annoy the shit out of them. So that's where I started to post on Instagram. And then, you talk to people.
Yes.
You have this passion for the band that you love so dearly. And then you make so many acquaintances and friends and peers associated with it. And honestly, that has been probably the most fascinating part about this, how quickly you bond to people that you don't even know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It
It is
really
crazy.
is. Like you don't meet them in person, you talk online, then you meet in person, feel like you've known them for 10 years. I think that's honestly one of the most fascinating things about this. But
Yeah.
that's when we started to, then we wanted to meet people. So
Yeah.
then we went to a bunch of different venues based on where they were located, hoping to meet up with, it sounds weird to anyone other than in this community who's on social media, meet people you talk to on the internet.
Yes.
And then, yeah. And then you have the best times of your life with them. And it's, yeah,
It's wild
that
to
is why I'm
explain. And
so,
how do you explain that to
yeah,
people in your life that like don't get it? Like maybe, for instance,
don't.
someone you work with or whatever, do something else with. Like, do they understand exactly what you're talking about? Or are they like,
No.
you need to be careful because you're probably going to be kidnapped one day?
Yes. No, it's very hard to explain because you say it out loud and you're like, I guess it does sound a little
It
weird
sounds
and creepy,
scary.
but you
I
get
got in a
it.
car
You
with a
get it.
stranger and I wasn't for sure their last name or anything about them other than they like the Dave Matthews Band. But I hopped right in their car.
They're
That
completely
sounds
fine.
terrible. We've made it out alive every time. Thank you, Jesus.
Exactly. We're fine. We've survived thus far, but
And made amazing
so yeah,
friends doing so.
exactly. You meet people that you just have instant bonds with, and I frankly talk to them more than this. Again, kind of sounds sad, but my other friends and family. You talk and you text, and there's group messages, and it's just an ongoing cycle of things.
Because as it
So
goes, you learn more about each other and then you're kind of invested in like, oh, hey, it's her daughter's birthday, or oh God, their dog just died.
yep,
I mean, like you get into it and then they really
yep,
do become more than just Dave acquaintances. They become lifelong friends, people that you do talk to every day. And it's,
yep,
I think it's refreshing to hear other people say that because you've just described my life and how literally I can go through all my text messages right now and outside of work and my family, all Dave people, literally all
true,
Dave people. So if someone were to
yeah.
go through my phone, I mean, it would probably, I don't know. It's like, I don't know any of these people I'm texting, but I love them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how it is. And obviously, like you already touched on, honestly, most of it is not even talking about Dave at this point. Like
Exactly.
the band, now it's about other things like
Yeah,
their family life, what they're going through. And again, it's kind of hard to explain to my family
for sure.
how quickly you make, because it's hard to, I shouldn't say hard, but as an adult, unless you have work friends or you have like significant hobbies, you just don't meet a lot of people in your mid 30s.
Right.
And
It's true.
so it's hard to explain that, yeah, you 5 years ago, I still have these wonderful friends, but I had probably 5 to 10 that I really talk to all the time. And now it's up to probably 30.
Yeah, oh, probably more than that.
50 online
It,
is like a lot.
Yes, it can be a lot, but how cool is that? That it is so hard to meet people as you get older, just because we do get very kind of, or a lot of us get very focused on our careers and or our
Yeah.
families,
Yeah.
and so you end up just kind of in a pattern of doing the same thing in the same way, like kind of, and so that kind of eliminates the possibilities of meeting new people. And
Yeah.
so it's just harder.
Okay.
It's harder to meet people, but this has made it very easy. And I like to describe what we are doing to people that don't understand. I'll say something like, well, pick a team, any team, whatever, Kansas City Chiefs, only because they're closest and also they're the Super Bowl champions. But there are people that love them, like diehard fans loved them forever, maybe as long as they lived, maybe whatever, just for the past 5 years. Maybe it's been a family thing. They will go to the games, travel to see them play in different places.
Yeah.
How is that different? It's not.
It's not.
It's just how people
Literally
look at it. It's not
You wear
different.
the merch.
Yeah.
You spend
Tailgate.
You tailgate
Yes.
exorbitant amounts of money on things.
Yeah.
And so
let's not talk about that.
we're just gonna roll right over that.
Well, yep. No, I don't know. There was a meme that I did with one of the Kardashians where she said something like, I don't ever talk about dollars and cents. And I like put that with like when someone asks me how much money I spend on the Dave Matthews Band, it's always like, I don't like to talk about dollars and cents. We don't talk about that.
Not really. No.
So yeah, it has really kind of turned into who my friends in life are. But the cool thing about this is, at least for me, and I know it is for you too, just because I know you enough and I've watched you enough to say it continues to get bigger. The more shows you go to or the more contacts you make on social media, that just kind of extends how big your circle gets because you're meeting more incredible people. Every show, I have met someone that I did not know previously and just fell in love with them, like thought they were the coolest people. And that's what I like about all of this is I do not want to hang out with a bunch of people that are like me. I would hate that. But what I have found is a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life from all over the world. And we have one thing in common, all of us. Probably more, but I know that you want to talk to me about Dave Matthews Band and I want to talk about it. So like we're instantly, like we've already got this conversation that we can just, and that's kind of the hardest part when getting to know new people is like, you don't know anything about them. So you don't like, okay, well, do you like dogs? Do you like fishing? Like trying to figure it out. We already know, right?
Yeah. And
makes it a lot easier.
That. Yeah. That one fact of the Dave Matthews Band for, 3 hours.
Let's break it down.
Never gets awkward or silent.
No, it's like, well, how can we think about that in a different way? Like, let's pull up the almanac or whatever and really dig into this conversation. I need to know dates and times and how long the song was, which sounds
version.
Psycho to anyone else.
You're right.
Can you imagine, like, you said, who else did you say you listen to on a regular basis? Well, and let's not, I know you're a Goose fan, but don't bring them up because this question will not work with them. So country music, who was your person? You named someone.
Keith Urban. I was obsessed with Keith Urban we followed him around for probably the late 2000s for a long time. For a while, we drove around trying to see him.
So you know a lot about his music. You've traveled around to see him. Yeah. Would you feel comfortable walking up to another Keith Urban fan that you know has liked him as much as you and just been like, hey, what version of whatever song do you like the most live? Like, would you ask them that?
No, I would absolutely never do that. Ever.
But you would at a Dave Matthews Band show, right? I mean, like, absolutely. If it came up, you'd be like, I feel completely comfortable asking you this.
Absolutely correct. Not even, But like you said, Goose would be an absolute yes, because it's a very similar, it feels very similar. They're obviously a lot newer, but it does feel similar. But every other genre of music, no, not even remotely close.
It would be so
No.
weird. I kind of want to do it just to see like what the response would be. Like whatever the next concert is. Yeah, I want to record it and tell my daughter, like, record this shit. I know about 30,000 people that'll think this is funny, but that's it.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I've never even thought of that.
I don't know. I think it really is a Dave thing, but also I don't know that for sure because I don't know about you, and so I want to know, have you ever followed another band like this?
Not even
To this extent.
not even remotely close.
Okay.
I have with Goose as much as I can, but it's hard because the Dave Matthews Band schedule is a lot of the year.
Yes.
And so things conflict, but I would say I have not, but whenever the time comes, which we're not going to talk about them stopping touring, but my guess is it's going to pick up and be
Goose.
Not to the psychotic extent, but similar.
Never say never.
Because I need this feeling. It's an addiction.
It is. It's, I always say it feels good to feel good. And that is an addictive feeling. It's feeling good. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's amazing to feel good all the time. And if you can identify something as simple as music that's going to make you feel that way, damn, go for it, right? Like how little of a thing to fill your heart. I mean, I don't mean to like minimize music. If you've listened to this podcast, I am definitely giving so much credit to music and the way it can, change us and change our mind and change our hearts and bring us together with people.
Sure.
But I have never followed a band either. Like, I love a lot of music, just like you do. So much thing. There's really nothing that I don't like. I mean, I'm not into like heavy metal. I don't care for that in general.
Sure.
My husband took me to a Metallica concert, which I don't know if that's borderline like heavy metal. It's kind of more rock and roll metal, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he took me to that, and I just was like, this is terrible. And I know that I'm going to, people are going to be like, that bitch is crazy. But, hey, there's music for everybody, and that's not mine.
Exactly.
But, I have never even thought about, well, I like this band. I think I'm just going to see them as many times as I can. But also it's as I say that out loud, I'm thinking, but not every band can do that because they have like set list, like I know what 1 through 18 is going to be every single show, no matter where they are, they're going to perform it the same way. That is not what the Dave Matthews Band is. And so like, do you remember the moment where you kind of realized like, oh, well, we've watched like 16 concerts and I swear to God, every single one of them's been different. Like, when did that click in your brain?
I honestly, it was when we were watching and then looking at old set lists. It's like we would go, I found out there was the hub. And so Zach's first show was in 98. It was in Champaign the week before Live in Chicago was recorded, the 98 one. And so we started to look back at his old show, and then we looked at the set list, and it was completely different than Live in Chicago. And so and then when we experienced in person, it's just so different. And I think honestly, a lot of DMB people, and then I guess the jam band community, I think that's why they do very similar things to us. Like Fish, I know for a fact there's so many people that go to, 10 shows a year is not abnormal for that. Goose people, I know so many people that do the same thing, but I think in our respect, it's just such a unique thing for this community and those to feel such a, like FOMO sets in every sinle show.
For sure.
Like,
every single one.
What are they going to play tonight?
I'm going to miss out.
And then they play something, you're like, son
Pissed
of a
about
bitch.
It.
I miss that.
I take it very personally.
Yeah.
Dave did that on purpose.
Yes. he did not know we were there tonight. And so he should have played that.
Sometimes it feels that way though. Like I can't remember what song. Oh, as we go, oddly enough, as we go into the start of 2024 with summer, it opened in Tampa. So I go into this tour wanting to hear one song. I mean, I say one song. There's one song. There's a lot of songs that I want to hear that I'm probably never going to hear. But the song I wanted to hear in 2024 was Dream Girl, oddly enough. And this was before I knew what we know now.
Yeah.
And I guess it's because he sang it in Europe. I want to say that that's where it like, oh, hell yeah. I remember that song and I love it. And then, so I was like, I'm going to hear it. I want to hear it. So I go to Tampa, West Palm Beach. So I go to the first 3 shows thinking he's going to do it. Had to go back home because I had to catch the Texas shows. Damn it. If on night 4, he didn't fucking sing that song and I was pissed. I was like, what the hell? I put it all over social media, tagged Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah.
It's silly. Silly.
How many times did he play it? It was only like 1 or 2. So he did the solo in London. And then I think he did kind of an aborted one in Lisbon. And then he played it twice, maybe?
Something. Yeah. Not that.
I wanted to hear it so badly, full band too. So.
I really did. But, hey, something to keep chasing. But now I feel like, now I don't even know how to feel about it. I'm like, well, are they going to play it because of like Julia Roberts now and that whole thing? Like, is it going to come out now more or not? Because even she in her social media tagged like Dream Girl, like it's a real thing. And so now I'm like, well, is it going to stay buried in the vault of the Dave Matthews Band or is it going to pop out? You just never know. And that's exactly what you're talking about is that dude will bury shit and you'll think it's been gone for 20 years. And then, any old casual Tuesday night, he'll just pull that shit out and be like, and everybody's like, oh, fat fucker, I love you so much.
Like burning down the house was a liberation. He played it as the closer when we were all leaving. And we're like, well, we're definitely counting that as a liberation because it's been how many years? It's been a while. So, yeah.
But it's fun to have that big of a catalog. Just because we will never, I wonder how long it would take. This is like dumb DMB math. So let's see if we can do it. Well, I don't know. How many concerts would they have to do? Let's say it's a typical concert, maybe 18 to 20 songs. Let's do 20 because that's easy math. If they did 20 songs, a show, without ever repeating, how long would it take them to sing every song that's in their catalog minus any covers? Oof, I want to know that answer. And I know that I could just do it, but I haven't.
Now I'm having to think. What do they have? Around 300? 350? I don't even know.
So let's do fast math. So let's just say for easy numbers, 350 songs divided by 20 songs. That's only 18 shows.
That's why we want to go to all of them.
But let's do it. Let's do 18. Let's call it right now. 2025, 18 shows in the summer tour. One is never the same. Can you imagine if they did that? I don't know if I don't know what I would do because I'd be like, I have to be at every show because it's never a repeat ever this year. That would hurt me and I would love it at the same time.
Well, yeah. People they would completely quit their jobs, become homeless, just like.
I need to be a marketer for the Dave Matthews Band. I'm like, I can tell you how to make more money. Because who wouldn't go to that?
I can't even imagine if they did that.
Oh, wow, that would be so good. But they may not even want to do that. I often think about silly things like, are there songs they really hate to sing? Just because either they wrote it so long ago that it's not fun to them because maybe it reminds them of something stupid or that they're just grown up now and that's not funny to them or that they just are so tired of singing, because they've sang it 10,000 times or whatever, I wonder about silly things like that.
Well, I thought Man Man's Eyes at that point would he. I heard it. That's my number one song. Man Man's Eyes has been almost 30 times.
It's a lot.
So I would
It's a
imagine
lot.
they were sick of playing that, but apparently not.
No, I mean, that's another layer of it's hard to be a rock star because if you do, say for instance, don't care to play that again, however, it just was on your newest album and you are a
Yep.
business because the band is a business, you have to sing it from time to time if you want to keep pushing record sales. I mean, it's like a whole thing. And, so while I like to think, and I know that he does have most like creative control over the set list, I wonder if there's any like little advisors that go, I think that's great, Dave. I love where you're going, but let's drop in one from the new album just so we can promote it. I mean, like, who's doing that shit? Or is anybody?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like, well, like you said, I think he has by far the most decision making. I'm sure Rob has some sort of
Oh, sure.
impact if he really wanted to.
Yeah.
Maybe Rodrigo.
Because I think they've all admitted at some point that they see what we're doing on social media. Like they're in there. They can see the post with 10,000 comments about whatever. Like they've all said it in some way, shape, or form. Even Dave, said most recently at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame something along the lines of, I could see my fans just voting. And I was like, I know that in his life somewhere he's on social media. I know people say that he's on Tumblr and you can see different things on Tumblr, but like somebody in his house has Instagram. I don't care whether he's got two like 20-year-old daughters and a however-year-old son. Yeah. Somebody's got Instagram. Have you ever looked at their phone, Dave? Have you ever been?
Yeah,
probably.
I don't know. There are so many. I don't know what goes on in his brain, but there's always a surprise. No matter what show it is, there's always one surprise at least.
It's fun. So, it's fun to have that because he really does. I mean, he's so incredibly talented, but also very, very smart. He's everything, and that's why all of them. And I hate to single out Dave because I don't mean that. If you're listening to this, I sometimes I just call the band Dave. That is what I Dave.
Like it's a habit that I'm trying to break. But
yes,
they're all obviously a very important part of it.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I definitely think he is by far he picks the set list. I'm sure. Maybe Carter has some input, Stefan, but there's always a surprise in there.
Yeah, you never know. And that's what keeps you coming back for more. Hey, so I want to talk just shortly about swag because that's part of the community, right? Like, so if you're listening to this and you're like this whole concept of community and fans being friends and, it sounds weird. Well, here's another layer of weirdness for you. So when we get together, not only with all of these strangers that we've met on the internet, we bring stuff for each other, stuff that we've like personally made or paid for in some way to give to strangers because that is what we do. But it is like, it's just what you do at a Dave Matthews Band concert or event in general. So as time goes on, I have met, and I know you have met, well, actually, I'll talk about something that I got from you that I talk about a lot. But people are very creative. They come up with all kinds of different things to give out because, not everybody wants to give the same thing out. Maybe they want to stick out, but also maybe they're just really good at creating stuff. And so I've put together a few things that I got just recently at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that I thought were fun. So again, if you're just listening to this on a podcast app, you'll need to watch the YouTube channel to see all this. So I got a pig, and while I thought that pretty standard, normal, like I love it, they went as far as not only just to order pigs for everyone, but I'm going to try to hold it to the camera. It actually says the DMB Rock Hall of Fame 2024. So, I mean, like they went to a lot of trouble to get these to people. And I love that. Just the thought process that, going into that of like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. This is one of my most favorite things because it's borderline strange, but also it would be strange if you gave it to someone that didn't get it. But when you hand it to a fan that is pretty, like, knows the music, I'll show you and you can see if you know what this is about.
Was that in a music video? Is it a baby? It's kind of furry.
It's a baby, little tiny baby. Just a little plastic.
Baby.
Yeah, little baby. So they got these little plastic babies and gave them out to everybody. But again, went to the extra mile and has a fire dancer stamp, like it's in the baby. So and of course, you know, they kind of explained it as they gave it to me. And so I'm imagining that every person they gave it to, they were like, you know, like, little baby. So they had to sing to everybody too. So yeah, I got a little baby. Thought that was pretty cool. These are the things I have in my office. And when people walk in, they're like, okay, she's weird.
Why do you have a baby? That's all right.
But also, I've had a few people walk in and be like, Dave Matthews Band. And I'm like, we're about to be good friends. Let's see. I got a spaceman. Love it.
Beautiful.
Very cute. Very cute. Of course, bracelets. Bracelets are always a big thing, but people have gotten really awesome at making them say things with beads and just the time. I got a koozie. Love that.
Oh, that's cute.
Stickers, bracelets, but here's the coolest thing. I know no one else got this, only because you'll see why here in a second, but I have a friend from the Dave Matthews Band who came to Cleveland from New Orleans, and I only see him at Dave shows, but he brought me this. It's like a massive, almost realistic size license plate, but it just says The Space Between Podcast. And I was like, wow, like, dude, thank you so much for going out of your way to get very personal. Yeah. Thank you. But, you know, it doesn't surprise me because, again, this is a very normal part of the Dave Matthews Band. So is there anything that you got that you want to share with us? Show us something you got at the Rock Hall this year.
Sure. So I had to work Friday and I didn't make it to the meetup. And by the time we got checked in, it was late. So we ended up just staying in. But a very, very sweet person / fan, I was standing in line for popcorn and he's like, hey, I know this is weird. And I was like, nothing's ever weird. Like going back, nothing weirds me out. No, not at all. He said, I had one of these. I think there was a contest or something, but I wanted to give you this. And so it's a homemade glass necklace pendant that is handmade. And
That's incredible.
We were getting popcorn. Yeah. And he handed that to me and I thought it was incredibly sweet. People around me who were not, again, DMB fans were like, what is happening? She's getting very emotional right now. I hugged a stranger, thanked him. And then Gorge Crew. Wait, where'd it go? There we are.
There we are. Look at that. That's very amazing.
Solid, beautiful pin that will go on the jacket that I wore that night. So
for sure.
I have a couple bracelets somewhere and stickers, but I can't remember where they are. I'm unpacking, so
me too.
In my bag for a while.
I literally didn't do much with my hair today because I didn't want to unpack my bag. Still zipped up and just in the living room. I haven't even brought it back to my bedroom yet. It's just like, I'm tired. I just got home from vacation. Isn't it funny how that works? You're like, I'm so excited. Like I'm going to do all this. And then you get home and I'm like, I need a couple days to recoup from that. It didn't used to be
exhausted.
that way.
It was emotional. Yeah. Emotionally draining. And I'm one of those people that lets my luggage sit for a couple days because that's just me. My husband wants to unpack right away, and I just let it sit. So
God, no. Yes, no. That's another thing that I have to do. Then I can put off to probably this weekend. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So the question always is, and I think you've really kind of answered this, but if someone asked you that didn't know all the things that you just shared with me, what keeps you coming back for more of the Dave Matthews Band? How would you answer that?
It's so hard.
I know it is, but also it's easy because you know the answer.
I mean, the friends that I have made through this band honestly keep me going more to the shows than the amount of shows than anything, because we want to see them. But also
Right.
there's nothing like when there's a song that we love that's being played, or for instance, The Last Stop this year at Alpine, it makes me want to cry. But when he was up there watching everyone clap at him, and then he started to clap back at us, and he just like, the whole band just kind of scanned the crowd, because Alpine's huge. Every single person was clapping in unison, and you could see it in their face, because we were pit. We could see it in their face how emotional it was for them. And just hearing your favorite songs in that moment there was probably, I just have an addiction to feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I love us.
Yes. It is. It's a combination of all of the things. It is the music that gets us there. And then it's so much more once you kind of dig deep. And I always like to remind listeners, you don't have to attend shows to be a big fan of the Dave Matthews Band. You could be the biggest fan of the Dave Matthews Band and have never seen them live. However,
numbers don't matter. They really don't.
No, not at all. However, with traveling and with seeing them, it does open up some doors that probably wouldn't otherwise. And that's just meeting the people, seeing those things like how you explained in Chicago or in Deer Creek, like just the energy of the crowd and how different it was from YouTube to real life. That's the thing that you don't have when you've never been to a show. And it is that thing right there that will keep you coming back for more, because it's just, a layer of all your favorite things, but it takes all of those layers for it to work. And so it is so hard to explain that to someone that doesn't understand it, because for the most part, I'd like to think that people have never had anything like this with anything else, right? Like it's a special thing. It's not a common thing. And I think that I'm just so incredibly happy to be a part of this and hopefully have many more years to come. And I know that you don't want to talk about it, but I do talk about it because I like to keep my heart prepared. I always say, when the music will never be over, but like when it is done in the form that we now know it, there will need to be support groups. These groups will continue to thrive. I believe that, because I don't think that people are going to get tired of each other just because the band is not performing live. I just can't see that happening. No. I think it'll just change the way we do our get-togethers. They may just be in a city, like let's get together and just go check out New Orleans together and talk about Dave and play Dave and like just hang out. So while I get sad about it, I also try to think how much I've gained in the process. I've gained so much, and so many people that I love and have just fed into my life, and I know will be there forever. And if I needed anything, I've got 20 people I know I could pick up the phone and ask them to do anything, and they'd be on the next flight out if needed. And so, it does take all that. And I know that you understand that, because you've just described literally all of those things of how it was, kind of the music. It drew you in at such a cool time too, like when we needed something, anything.
Yeah.
And COVID was tough for a lot of most people. And the Dave Matthews Band, the story of the Dave Matthews Band getting people through COVID is one that comes up often. And so, as bad as COVID was, and we hated it, there was a lot of great things that came out of it. And a lot of people found things and reconnected with things they may have never reconnected with. Just, the social aspect of digging into these Facebook groups or on Instagram and connecting with people. We probably maybe never have done that if it hadn't have been. So, if you have to have a silver lining on COVID, this is definitely a great one.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and just kind of giving everyone what your journeys look like. I know that, so if someone wants to find you on Instagram, because I know you kind of like, I don't know about this, but also I do. You post some really great stuff. You put together like like a video starting from 1991 all the way to present day. And you literally showed every year some footage that I know it must have taken you some time to like get that together, because that's a lot of time.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about how long that took.
But it was beautiful. It was so well done. I think there was never been a better time to put that out than when you did, just because of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I think that people will want to see the content you put out just because it is like no one else is doing. And so that's what's making it work, is because no one else is doing what you're doing. And so if someone wants to find you on Instagram, what exactly do they type in?
TwoSteph41, 2 spelled out.
2 spelled out, Steph, STEPH, and then the numbers 41. How'd you come up with 41?
Yep. TWOSTPH 41.
41. You just pulled that one out, right? Like, oh, that'll work.
Oh, yeah.
41's a good
Random number.
Yep, random. So definitely check her out on Instagram. Again, just so much cool content, and that's not going to stop, because 2025 is not over. We know that we will be getting something, because I believe it was Jeff that posted on something a couple of weeks ago, maybe sometime within then, that someone could pick a show from 2025. I want to say specifically summer 2025 could pick a show for that.
You're right.
So, and I just, he probably didn't mean to spill the beans, but honestly, I'm so glad he did. And I hope that that's true, because I had honestly heard the complete opposite. I heard that they were taking a break in 2025. And they may still be, because who knows, we might get a summer tour that has 10 shows. And that's fair. Totally fair of them to do. How long can you do all year long, every day, all day? You're like, come on. They're killing it.
I don't know how they do what they do. Yeah, I have no idea how they keep going like they do.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So the fact that we're still getting them, and the promise to get them in 2025, is amazing. And so definitely follow Steph on Instagram, because there's more to come. This is not over yet. And your journey is not through yet. So I hope that you'll come back maybe next year or the year after, get some more Dave under your belt, and we'll have you back on to pick up where we left off.
Sounds beautiful. Thank you for having me.
So guys, again, if you're listening to this on a podcast app, just know that you can watch all of this on YouTube. It's simply under the Space Between Podcast. And while you're here in the podcast app, just as soon as you click out, go ahead and leave a review for the Space Between Podcast. Give it however many stars, unless you want to give it 1. And then just email me with what I could do better, and I'll take care of that. Don't leave 1-star reviews. No one has, thank God. So share it with a friend. If you're interested in sharing your journey, which is what this takes, because if you don't know, what I'm doing with all of this content is, let's see, all 150 people or 160 people that have been on this show, I'm taking clips from each one of their interviews, if you will, and making a documentary once the band retires. And so if you want to be part of this journey, a part of this love story that I'm writing to the band, then definitely hit me up on any of the socials and say, hey, I'd love to tell my journey. You can have been a fan for a week or for 30 years. It doesn't matter. So definitely reach out to me if you're interested. It's pretty easy. It's 2 people talking about Dave, which is very, very easy. And so definitely hit me up. But guys, in the meantime, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.